Welcome back to an introduction to church planting. This is the phase of the missionary appointment process that gets real. I mean, it gets really real down into who you are, what God's been doing in your past, what are the issues in your life that you may have dealt with before God or need to deal with before God in order to move along. This is the part of the process where you're going to be looking at the world and praying through where might God send you and what role you might play on the field. It's a very exciting part of the process, and it's also a very transparent part where you're just getting honest before God and honest before a small group of people who are helping you walk through this process. Well, let's get started. An introduction to missions. This week we are talking about the appointment process, and we talked about the first two steps yesterday. Today we're going to get into more of the heart, where the most detail is dealt with in regard to this process. We said that there are three phases. Phase one is where they get to know you, and in step two, the church approves you to move forward in this process. Today we're going to look at phase two, where IMB staff gets involved, and we're going to look at a comprehensive assessment. And in the combination of IMB staff and missionary team leaders, there will be some interviews, some interactions there of trying to match you with the right place and the right job. And then in step 5, will be an affirmation of your selection as a missionary to move forward. And then before you go to the field, there is a time of training. And then step 7 is deployment, is you're leaving America and you're heading overseas. So 3 phases. Phase 1, this church. Phase 2, IMB staff. Phase 3, missionary team leaders. So step 3 is a comprehensive assessment. First thing they're going to look at is your spiritual wellness, and they want to know about your salvation, want to know about your calling, want to know about your quiet time, want to know about your morality, your holiness in your life. How are you walking in those areas? Then they're going to assess your medical wellness. They're going to look at your current health, your current weight, your BMI, your body mass index, your current activity in regards to physical activity, any health issues, concerns, stuff like that. Then also look at, also in the medical wellness, we'll also be looking at your family medical history in regard to the medical history aspects that will affect you on the field. So let's say you're in your early 20s, but you have a family medical history of something. It's good to know that now to see how maybe in your 40s, if you're still with the IMB, how that could affect you in there. And then family wellness is how's your are you single? Are you married? How is your marriage? If you're single, how are you dealing with singleness? Because you're not going to be dating. They don't want you to be dating necessarily while you're on the field. So are you going to be okay with that? Then if you're married, have you been married at least a year? How's your marriage? And then is your spouse, how do they feel about going? Because we want to hear this information from both sides, husband and wife. What about your kids? What are their ages? How are they in their development? They're going to look at your emotional wellness. They're going to look at, what's your history here? Any history of anger, depression, things like that. Are you stable? Are you adaptable? Are you flexible? What is that? And then even there, they're going to look at your family wellness. What's the emotional state? You feel called to go, but your wife is not on board there. She's not wanting that. Or your kids have some emotional health issues that needs assessing. And so both on the medical, not just yours, but your family's health, they want to know that. Also on the medical side, they're going to do that. You're also going to complete a background check. It would be, not just a criminal one, but a financial one. Have you dealt with, is there any issues in your past, any questions, any concerns in those areas? How long does it take to do these assessments? You're going to be doing this about 6 to 8 weeks, so about a month and a half to 2 months, and that seems like a lot of time in some ways, but there's a lot of information that you're going to have to create and generate to walk through this part. And this is probably, on your part, the most work you'll have to do in regards to paperwork. The good thing is you get it done and then it's done. Information that this would be sending them your school transcripts so they can see what courses you've taken. They can see, if there's a certain job that requires a certain degree, do you match those qualifications? And do you have like the basic educational qualifications for that job and stuff? They're going to ask for a reference list, and they're going to ask all your references about your spiritual wellness and your emotional wellness and what you're doing in regard to now, and so they can make a referral or recommendation that you go to the field or not. You're also going to create an autobiography. This is a big document because you're just going to tell your life story, and they'll give you kind of the outline that they're looking for here. It's not an exhaustive biography. It's not a complete book. It may feel like that at times. So they'll give you the category. They'll give you, say, give us 500 words on this topic, so to speak, and you'll just walk through this. And this is a very intimate document. This may be the most private document that you will prepare for them. Now, you need to understand there's very few people, probably not even a handful of people, I would say, who actually will have access to this document. Part of that is to protect your privacy, and part of that is someone's walking through helping you get assessed for this. And so only what's needed to know out of that is shared at another level. But even within the assessment, that information within the assessment team doesn't go to all the IMB. So like your team leader, your co-workers, they won't know any of that information unless you tell it to them. And so it's not necessary. This is an area for them to help assess some of your spiritual wellness, emotional wellness, and such. Then you're going to give additional family information, and there'll be, are you married? Talk about your marriage, about your kids, things like that. You'll need to give them a witnessing journal. They want to see that you are actively sharing your faith, and they need to see that you are able to lead someone to the Lord. So in the process of this, you will need to have led someone to the Lord during this. And so the best thing to do is, whether it's on your phone or in a notebook, is each week just write down the date and who you witnessed to, maybe a one-sentence description of what took place, and note those that come to saving faith in the Lord. And the sooner you make witnessing a part of your lifestyle, this part of the process is not a stressor. It's just giving a report of what you already do. Some other things you'll complete in this comprehensive assessment will be a Christian belief statement. They want to know, what do you believe on some of the core issues? Now, you will need to sign off on the Baptist Faith and Message 2000, but they will want you to articulate what you believe on some of those key things. And so this is not to just to make sure that you're sound in your Christian beliefs. And once again, we said, a background check, that will be a background check and a credit check. So that's basically, have you had any arrest? Are you a sex offender? Do you have bad credit? Those types of things. You will also take a Baptist Faith and Message course. They don't want you just to say, I'll sign the statement. They want you to know what's in the Baptist Faith and Message, and then to be able to say that you believe that. And so there'll be, basically a Christian beliefs checklist of your convictions and such there. You will need to take what's called a Safe and Secure course. This is basically a course for the IMB policies on your working with minors, because there are going to be minors with you. There are going to be other missionary families and their kids, and you need to understand what their policies are in regard to keeping kids safe and secure, so that you keep kids safe and secure, but you also protect yourself from false accusations by anyone in this area as well. And they take the protection of children very highly, and so this will be important. And then there'll be a field questionnaire, and this is to gauge some of your preparedness for missionary work, and to gauge where in the world do you feel any leading or preference in going, say whether it be like Europe or Africa or Asia or South America, whether it's urban or rural, and what you might be doing, whether it be a team member, a team leader, or serving in logistics or some type of field services there, support services. And that will help get them a gauge of how to figure out where to place you in regard to job matches. And then lastly, there'll be a medical questionnaire that will involve all your history in regards to medical, your history. They want to know about your family's medical history, and this is a very in-depth questionnaire. And this will need to be completed not just on you, but also on your spouse and on each kid. And so this will take some time. So I would encourage you in these, all these forms that you complete, that you create a copy for yourself and keep that in a safe place, so that you're not having to repeat any of this, and you have it for your own reference. As you can see right here, that's a lot of information, a lot of writing, a lot of thinking that needs to be done. Step 3 is probably the most involved as far as the heavy lifting on your side. But you can also see with someone who's trained, having all this information about your spiritual health and medical, physical health, your emotional health, and your family, is going to help them make some key decisions in any areas you might need to deal with, focus on in order to move forward, and also recommendations for job match, location and job match for you and for your family. Now remember that the whole goal of the IMB is to get you on the field. And so these hurdles, in a sense, these hoops to jump through, are not meant to be roadblocks, but they're to make sure that you are, that the timing of your calling is now. And if not, they will help you make some decisions in regard to what needs to be addressed in order to get ready to be able to go. Then step 4 of this phase will be interviews. Once you submit all that information to them and everything looks good, looks positive to move forward, they will invite you to a 2-day interview conference in Richmond, Virginia. And this will be, they'll pay your way to get there. They'll house you and feed you during that time. And during this time, it's to learn more about the IMB, learn about its vision, its leadership, learn more about this process of becoming a missionary. And it'll be at this conference that you'll have an interview and look at job matches there for that. So after this interview conference, if everything goes positive and they want to move you forward, you'll apply for specific jobs, and a potential job match will include a video interview by a missionary team leader. And so that involves the missionary team leaders in that. So we're getting into phase 2 and phase 3 overlapping here to some degree. And so this is an exciting time of when you're getting at what to do here. Now, I will send you an email of potential questions that you would want to ask that missionary team leader in that interview. You don't necessarily have to ask them all those questions, but most of those things you want to listen for, and if they don't provide that information, you want to ask. Because probably it's like being on any team. Who you work with has a great impact on you being in the right place, being used to the fullest, and having just a good team camaraderie. And so you want to make sure that all that matches and that expectations from you, from them, are met. Now this step 4, it takes about 4 to 6 weeks to complete. And so basically part of that has to do with the cycle of these interview conferences, and then the timing of a job match interview with a missionary team leader. Then after this, we'll get into next week about the results of steps 3 and 4, about whether they're moving forward or not. And so when you talk with a team leader, there's really the reality and expectations about the team and about life on the field. You want to ask about the place you're going to be living in, housing, transportation, things like that, food, climate, about the job, what you'll be doing, what's expected of you in that, and about what you can do now to prepare for that, what you can read, what you can study, what you can be actually implementing now to be a part of that, about communication there. So like, how will I do language and culture? How long is that? What is that? Can I be doing any of that now to get ready? There are lots of things you can ask in that regard in your preparation. All right. Well, that's going to do it for today. Hope this has been helpful. And once again, as the Lord may be leading you in this, look at these areas of consideration and pray about starting that process today. Well, that's going to do it for the day. As you see, there is a lot of information that the International Mission Board wants from you as a candidate to become an international missionary. Now, you may say, well, I'm not so sure that that's what my call in my life is. I would say to you, if you think that missions is potentially in your future, why not go online at imb.org, click the Go button, and start the process, at least to begin to explore this calling that you may have in your life, or at least to start some of the paperwork to get it done later. You can also hit the chat button and chat with someone about your call and about any questions you may have about the process. Or you can call their 1-800 number and talk with a live person about starting this process. The thing is this process, as you see on the timeline, it can take up to a year, maybe a year and a half. And so if missions is in your future, let's say you're going to graduate in a couple years, why not start the process now so that once you graduate, you're closer to going than just starting it then? Well, that's going to do it for the day. Until next time, have a great day.